Hello everyone, tonight we are lying down in the quietest place in the house, a place that shouldn't whisper but does. You are here. Bare feet on the cool wood fingertips, brushing dust off a frame that still holds the shape of someone who stopped breathing long before you were born. It's not that the bed is cursed, no, nothing so dramatic, it's just very good at remembering. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. The room is always colder than the hallway. Not freezing, just considerate. As if it's holding something back as the bed is older than the house that surrounds it. You don't know how you know this, but the knowledge settles into your chest as surely as the mattress settles under your weight. No creaks, no protest. It accepts you the way an old friend might nod across a crowded room, wordless, familiar, faintly disappointed. There are 7 carved rings on the bedposts, not symmetrical. You run your thumb across one and find a faint oiliness as though someone had kissed it long ago and the mark never left. No one sleeps in this room anymore, not since the cousin stopped speaking after staying the night. Not since the cat won't enter. Not since the clock stopped ticking and no one could restart it, not even when they changed the batteries or the clock. The bed is slightly warm, a kind warmth, one that remembers your weight, your dreams, and presumably your lungs. People used to sleep in nests, you know. Before beds, before sheets, before comfort, prehistoric humans arranged twigs and grass in curled shapes under trees, mimicking the habits of animals. A 200,000-year-old nest of sedge and ash was found in Zambia, fossilized bedding with layers carefully laid down. They think the ash was used to repel insects. They don't know if it worked. But the idea of a fire-layered bed where warmth and warding were woven together always stuck with you. This bed would not have repelled insects. It would have invited them in. Not the buzzing, stinging kind, but the older ones. The kind that walk on thought. That sleep in the syllables of your name. You lie back anyway. The ceiling is high and featureless, but the bed, despite its plainness, breathes under you. A small shift in the pressure of the mattress, like lungs. Or memory. You don't want to be rude, so you whisper goodnight. You're not sure to whom. Somewhere downstairs, the fridge clicks. A mercy, really. You were starting to believe the silence was sealed. There's a red thread wound beneath the pillow. You only find it because your fingers itch. You tug it out and find it tied at both ends. A closed loop. The knot smells faintly of salt. In some Southeast Asian households, threads like these are tied around a sleeper's wrist to keep their soul from wandering. This one was under the pillow. Either someone forgot or someone was trying to keep something in. You hold the thread too long, then decide not to put it back. The wall beside the bed is marked faintly. Not scratches exactly, more like traces of where fingers once hesitated. 7 again, always 7. You try not to count too much in haunted places, it never helps, but now that you've noticed, you can't unsee it. 7 threads. 7 rings. 7 finger grazes. There's a weight in the center of the bed, not touching you, but undeniably present. You wonder if it's better to share a bed with something quiet or to sleep alone with your own echo. Not everyone agrees on that. Some researchers still argue whether prehistoric people believed in ghosts. There's no direct evidence, but there are graves with tools laid carefully beside the bodies. Shells arranged around heads. Ochre smeared on bones like war paint for another world. And in one Siberian cave, a burial that may have been reopened, not to add to, but to take something back. The kind of revision only the living or the hungry would make. And the shape on the bed shifts. You tell yourself it's settling. Old wood, old memories. Definitely not something curling closer. The fan clicks once, then settles into a soft whir. Good fan. Loyal fan. You wish it had arms. Or maybe not. You close your eyes. You open them again. You're not entirely sure you slept, but something did. There's a shallow hollow beside you now, like a child curled into sleep, or someone too exhausted to beg for help. The indent is very fresh. You can feel the warmth radiating towards your ribs, like breath that wasn't yours. You sit up. The red thread is gone, and the wall beside the bed has 6 marks now. You did not hear the 7th being removed. You don't mention the missing thread, not to yourself, not to the dust, not to the bed. You're still sitting upright, as if that will make the difference, as if ghosts respect posture. But something has changed. The room hasn't gotten colder, but it feels as though the air has grown thick, like the walls are holding their breath. You can't help noticing that your own breath is louder than before, measured, awkward. It sounds new to you. Borrowed. There's a dull thump behind the headboard. You tell yourself it's the plumbing. There is no plumbing behind that wall. You place a hand flat on the mattress. The warmth is still there, but only in the shape of something not you. You do not want to name it because names invite things. That's one of the oldest rules in stories, and stories are just warnings with better memory. There's a smell now. Not foul, not rot, just old. Like paper that was written on before paper existed. Or feathers left behind by something that dreamt of flying but never needed to. You notice the mirror on the far wall is no longer facing you. You didn't move it. You would have heard the sound, but it's angled now, turned just slightly toward the bed, just enough to suggest curiosity or appetite. You glance at the floor. There's a circle of dust around the bed's legs, not thick enough to leave footprints. But you have the sudden, unpleasant certainty that it could record something if it stepped too close. You lie back down, not because you want to, because the bed allows it. There's a strange comfort in prehistoric beds. Nests were sometimes made communally. Whole families tucked into shallow depressions in the earth, wrapped in hide or leaves, the boundaries softened by shared heat. In some burials, children were found tucked under the arms of adults. No one knows if they died at once or were brought back together in death. The archaeologists use terms like deliberate arrangement. You prefer mercy. The bed does not feel communal. It feels watchful, like it has learned what it needs from every sleeper and kept a ledger of last breaths. And now it's learning from you. There's something into the pillowcase. You pull it out slowly with the cautious fingers of someone diffusing something that no longer ticks. It's a tiny pouch, leather-worn smooth. You hesitate, then untie it. Ash. You pinch some between your fingers. Fine. Clean. It smells faintly herbal lavender. No older than that. Like sage that doesn't grow anymore. You remember the Zambian bedding? The ash was found layered beneath sedge. Scientists said it was practical to keep bugs away, preserve cleanliness. But here's the thing. If it was just for insects, why tuck it in pouches? Why hide it in pillows? Some scholars think the ash had ritual use. Others insist it was incidental. You decide both are right, because tonight you're not choosing between science and folklore. You're lying down right where they meet. A joke floats across your mind. Ashes to ashes, and some of us just stay there. You smile, the bed exhales. You don't like that. You don't like it one bit. The mirror has shifted again. You swear it's closer. Not by much, a few inches. But that's all it would need, isn't it? You press the pouch of ash to your chest, just to feel something else breathing. The pillow smells faintly of smoke now. Not cigarette smoke, campfire, wood smoke, like something that remembers how light once danced on walls before electricity taught us to forget. A thought surfaces, slow and unwelcome. What if the bed doesn't keep people? What if it keeps air? The last breath of every sleeper. Collected. Archived. Layered like sediment. Ancient lungs whispering through the sheets, waiting to be remembered. Or worse, reactivated. You suddenly recall a folk tale your grandmother once told you, half laughing, half serious. If you sleep too long in someone else's bed, their dreams will start to dream you back. At the time, you thought it was nonsense. Now, you wonder if she meant the bed would breathe you in. The red thread returns. You find it under your arm. This time tied in a perfect figure 8, a symbol of infinity, or maybe of something that loops never ending, never complete. It's damp. You don't want to know with what. You whisper into the room, "I'm not staying." There's a pause. A long one. Then the bed dips very slightly under your shoulder. You lie still. The mirror watches. The dust ring stays clean. And somewhere in the wall, something breathes out for the first time in a long while. You don't sleep. But the bed does. And it dreams of you. You wake, though you don't remember sleeping. The room is darker than before. Not just night dark, but layered. Like the shadows have grown sediment, like even the absence of light has been aging while you lay there. You sit up slowly. The bed does not resist. The mirror is now directly facing you. This is not a surprise. In fact, it's almost polite of it to stop pretending. You nod at it, just a little nod, the kind you give a stranger on a train who's finally admitted you're both going to the same place. The red thread is no longer damp. It's dry now and stiff, like something that died and was mummified by accident. You place it on the windowsill and tell yourself you'll forget about it. The dust ring has shifted. Not broken, not disturbed. Just thinner on the left side, like someone walked a circle around the bed, carrying time in their hands. You try the door. Of course it opens. This isn't that kind of haunting. This one knows you won't leave. You walk into the hallway hoping for normalcy. Something prosaic, a lamp that flickers a forgotten shoelace. But everything is too neat. The floorboards don't creak. Your feet make no sound. There's a painting at the end of the hallway that you're fairly certain wasn't there yesterday. Or perhaps it was always there and only now is chosen to be seen. It's a figure in bed. Not detailed. Just strokes of dark pigment on pale canvas. But there's something wrong with the posture. The body is too still, too flattened, as if the bed had not held them so much as pressed them into shape. You turn away. The fan hums faintly from the bedroom. A metronome keeping time with a lullaby no one ever sang out loud. Did you know early humans often slept in shifts? One group resting while the others watched the fire or the mouth of the cave. Safety in cycles. Sleep as a rhythm of trust. You do not feel watched. You feel anticipated. You return to the room because you don't know where else to go. The bed welcomes you as it always has. One side warmer than the other. Still remembering. You sit on the edge and feel it breathe. The ash pouch is back on the pillow. A little heavier. You shake some out and find a sliver of something in the dust. Not bone, not wood. A scale. A fingernail. Something curved, yellowed, impossibly small. The kind of thing that makes scientists argue for decades. Some researchers still debate the function of curved lithics found at ancient grave sites. Were they tools? Symbols? Did they belong to the dead? Or were they offerings from the living? Or the more troubling theory were they part of something that left, not something buried? You place the sliver back in the pouch, or try to. It's gone. Not the sliver, the pouch. You blink. The mirror tilts again. You ask, "Is this you?" No answer. But there's a faint shifting in the wall like fabric rustling behind stone. You remember a folk tale from Northern Europe about a bed that grew roots. Every person who slept in it stayed a little longer, until eventually they couldn't leave. Not because they didn't want to, because the bed had learned their shape and remade itself around them. In the tale, the bed is eventually chopped up and burned, but the ashes never scatter. They cling together, still waiting. You lie down again slowly this time. It feels easier, natural, like slipping into a rhythm older than sleep. You wonder, is this what all haunted things want? Not to scare you, but to synchronize, to find a heartbeat that matches theirs, even if they no longer have one. The ceiling begins to flicker, not with light, with shadow, as if something is walking back and forth on the floor above you, but you know there is no room above this one. You count the steps. 7 again, always 7. Then silence. Then 7 again in reverse. A loop. The figure 8 knot. The dust ring is gone. No trace remains on the floor. Something has been cleaned. You want to stand, but your legs feel full. Not numb, not paralyzed, just occupied. Like something else has moved in and is politely pretending it hasn't. You say out loud, "I know you're here." And from the mirror, finally a fog. Breath on glass. You stand. You walk toward it. Not because you are brave, because that's where the rhythm is now. The mirror is not a portal. That would be simple. No, it's a window, but facing inward. You lean close, and you see yourself sleeping. Not a memory, not a trick. You lying still, in the bed, breathing. The reflection blinks. You don't. And you begin to understand. The bed doesn't keep breath like a collection. It uses it. Borrowed lungs, leased dreams. It remembers because it replays. Every sleeper, every breath, every flicker of a name half whispered in the night. It loops them not to trap but to rehearse, to become fluent in being someone else. You look into the eyes of your reflection and ask, "How long have you been me?" The figure smiles gently. You feel the sheets behind you rustle, and the mattress dips again. This time you don't lie back. This time you say no. The mirror darkens. The rhythm breaks. For now. You sit in the chair now. It's not much safer than the bed, but at least it doesn't breathe. You've angled it toward the mirror just far enough away to see the whole reflection without falling into it. The reflection does not smile anymore. It doesn't move either. It only waits the way someone might wait for an apology they're not owed but fully expect to receive. The bed is still, which is worse. Stillness implies patience. You watch the light change. That's generous. There is no light, but the shadows rearrange themselves like birds shifting on a wire, keeping each other balanced. Your body itches in places that aren't skin. You glance at the windowsill. The red thread is gone again. This time, you really don't remember moving it. Instead, there's a tiny object resting where the thread had been a fossilized tooth. Human-sized. Milk tooth, perhaps? It doesn't look like yours, but you touch your tongue to the front of your mouth just to be sure. All teeth present and accounted for. Still, the new one has the same faint tilt as yours. A familiar crookedness. The bed sighs. You hold the tooth carefully like it might wake up. People lose things in beds all the time. Socks, earrings, time, maybe even pieces of themselves. Maybe that's why the bed remembers so much, because it's made of us. Fossil by fossil. Breath by breath. You wonder if anyone's tried to weigh it. A bed like this must be impossibly heavy, or very light if memory is hollow like bone. There's an old archaeological puzzle about ancient wooden frames found in the peat bogs of Northern Europe. The wood is preserved almost perfectly, though the people are long gone. Some of these wooden structures resemble beds or biers or something in between. The question, as always, were they for the living or for the dead? Some scholars argue they were ceremonial. Others believe they were simply practical. But peat doesn't preserve ceremony. It preserves accident. Like something left behind when someone else got up and forgot they had ever been lying down. The tooth in your hand is warm now. You don't remember it being warm. You place it in your pocket and it pulses once like a skipped heartbeat. You think about making tea. That's what people do in stories when they're not sure what else to do, but the kitchen feels very far away and the chair has gently pressed itself around your thighs as if to say, let's not. So you stay. And the mirror fogs again. But not breath this time. It writes, not all at once, just a slow curl of a single word. Name. You say your name aloud. A test, a defiance. The fog erases the word. Rewrites. No, a joke forms at the edges of your teeth. Well, at least it's picky, but it doesn't quite make it out. You realize you are holding your breath, and the bed lifts, just a little. Enough to acknowledge you've noticed. The mattress does not rise like a thing on springs. It rises like lungs, as if the entire structure has decided to inhale. You remember the curved marks on the wall. There are 5 now. There were 6 before. This is backwards. Things aren't just appearing, they're being undone. The bed isn't collecting memory, it's rewriting it. You look back at the mirror. There's no reflection now, not yours, not the bed's. Just the room as it was before you entered. You blink and you are gone. You blink again and you're back. You try to cry, but the tears don't come. Maybe you cried earlier and the bed kept them. Maybe it's still figuring out how to make your eyes work. You whisper, "What are you?" And the mirror impossibly answers. Not in words, not in sound, just a shape. Your silhouette curled on the bed, smaller than you remember. It turns its head slightly towards you, not as if it sees, but as if it remembers seeing. And then from somewhere deep below the floorboards, a soft hum begins. A lullaby barely audible. Not music. More like the sound of bones rolling gently in ash. Repetitive. Comforting. Like a story you were once told before you were old enough to ask who told it. You recognize the tune. It's the rhythm of your own breath, only slower. And then it stops. Because you stop. You've been holding your breath again. You force air into your lungs. It tastes of wood smoke and memory. The chair releases your legs. The tooth in your pocket breaks in half. You don't look. You stand. And you face the bed. It waits. Patient. There are 4 marks on the wall. You never turned the lights off. But the room has grown darker than your memory allows. It's not a lack of light. It's an excess of past. You reach for the edge of the bed and say, "This isn't my ending." And the bed, as if in agreement, says nothing. But the air grows still. The door is open. You didn't open it. But it's open now, and there's a draft soft and coaxing, pulling your thoughts toward the hallway. The bed stays behind you. So still, so quiet, it could be mistaken for furniture again. As if all this time it had simply been waiting for the right story to end inside it. You glance toward the hallway, but nothing waits there either. Not the painting, not the distant hum of the fridge. Just the faint echo of your own footstep from a memory you haven't made yet. The floorboards now do creak. 1, 2, 3, each one a bit louder than the last. You think of vertebrae, of something stretching its back after a long nap. You're not sure if it is the house, or you. You don't leave. You turn back towards the bed instead. Because the truth is, you're not sure where you'd go. You sit, again. And this time, the bed sighs before you touch it like it already knew. There are 3 marks on the wall. The tooth in your pocket is whole. Not cracked, not warm, just present. Rewritten. Your reflection in the mirror is back now. It looks a bit tired, but otherwise fine. And then just for a second it waves. You do not. There's something tucked in the blanket's edge, a small scrap of woven fiber. You pull it free and find it's part of a larger pattern, like a fragment torn from a burial shroud or a child's blanket. You can't tell which. It smells of dust and violets and milk. You close your eyes. The bed doesn't move. But you feel the room drift slightly to the left. Just a tilt, like something adjusting for balance. Then very quietly, the mattress exhales under your spine. There's a story from the early Bronze Age about a woman buried with her infant child beneath a carved stone bed. The grave was sealed, but later someone returned and placed a second smaller carving at its foot. A stone breath, they called it. A representation of the final exhale. Some archaeologists say it's symbolic. Others believe it's literal. They found no body with the stone, just impressions in the earth, like someone had been there, but chose not to remain. You open your eyes. The red thread is wrapped around your wrist again. You do not remember tying it. It pulses faintly. Not heartbeat, more like the tick of something trying to become a heartbeat. There are 2 marks on the wall now. The bed creaks, not an old wood groan, but something more deliberate. A conversational noise. You speak without meaning to. I don't want to stay. And from the wall, from the dust, from the unseen corners where story congeals, a voice that is not sound says simply, you never have. And then, but you've always returned. It is not accusation. It is pattern. You stare at the mirror. Your reflection stares back. Then slowly it blinks, but the eyes do not match yours anymore. They are deeper, older, still watching. Your own eyes itch. You blink once, and you see 7 figures standing around the bed. Briefly, just a blink. They are tall but not human. Wrapped in sediment, shaped like memory pretending to be people. One holds a spindle. One holds a fossil. One holds your breath. Then they are gone. You are still in the chair. The bed is empty. There is 1 mark on the wall. You do not lie down. You wait. You listen. And from far off, perhaps under the floorboards, perhaps beneath your own ribs, a long, slow exhale. The kind people make when they know they are not alone anymore. You don't remember falling asleep, but something remembers waking. It stretches in your limbs. It brushes against your thoughts. It doesn't take anything, not really. It just borrows your shape. You are free to leave now, if you want. The bed remains behind, polite, eager, ready to listen again. Just as soon as you lie back down,